Have you noticed a market difference between brands that use, you might go to Theme Forest.
Right.
They take a theme, they tweak it, but all the code's still there versus a custom built template that's.
Great question.
Lots of sites have the same theme. Have you noticed a big difference from a?
So, I'm all for utilizing frameworks that are well built because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. And the more custom you go, the more costly it is to maintain. It's kind of a nightmare. The more likelihood it is to have technical issues. So it's just choosing like the right frameworks. A lot of them out there, including the ones you see on like ThemeForest, they tend to be suited towards non-technical users that of all business types. So they like dump everything in there to suit any type of business. And then we end up with code bloat. And obviously, I'm sure you guys have heard about Core Web Vitals and how important page speed and load times and things like that is to not only ranking in Google, but the experience of your users and whether or not they hit the back button and go to a competitor. So like that's usually where the big problems are that lie with a lot of those frameworks. They build some beautiful sites, and that's what usually pulls you because the design work is phenomenal. But usually they come with, you know, that side effect of things. So the performance is going to be poor. And not only that, a lot of times what ends up happening, and I see, is people installs all the dummy content. And then like a year later, I'm still finding Lauren Ibsen in random pages that they forgot to delete and get rid of. Please, if you ever install theme dummy content, make sure you clear all of it out. Yeah, that's a big one I see a lot. It's a big part of it too, I think, was necessary for those building type themes because we're trying to be competitive with the Shopify's and the Wix and the platforms that just made it really easy for non-technical users. And so WordPress obviously was kind of slow to come up with that page builder experience. Now we have Gutenberg in the block editor. It was kind of a hot mess when it came out, but it's progressed tremendously. And so I feel like the need to kind of utilize those standalone page builder sites is past. Really finding a framework that might enhance the block editor is your best bet. I've always been a big fan of Genesis and their frameworks. I have played around lately. Oh gosh, this is how I've been in-house now, and so I'm like trying to think. But I've heard a lot of good things about the Oxygen framework. I know a lot of people love Elementor. I was never a huge fan. When I did use a page builder, it's usually Beaver Builder. That one I love the most.
Custom post types.
Yeah. Right. Stay away from Divi.
Ooh.
I know that's gonna be like, what?
Heresy.
Divi again is very like, you know what? I've seen some really well built and well optimized Divi sites. So if you know what you're doing, you can actually build a phenomenal site and it will look fantastic because their designs are fantastic. They really enable. It's just depending on who you're handing that site over to and who's taking over and managing it and going crazy with it, then it becomes problematic. So really investing like in a platform that allows you to fine tune and control what users have control of and what they don't, depending on their level that you assign them to, really utilize that functionality. I see so many people just add their users as admin. Everyone's an admin. That's a disaster in the making. So just utilize that ability to fine tune and control permissions and really think about who the end user is and what they're going to need to touch. You know, unlock them as they need to without giving them full control. Even you have to be careful even with the block editor because it can get, you know, crazy as well. Genesis has, and they're owned by WP Engine now, they have their custom blocks in Genesis, like I think functionality, custom page templates. A really fantastic resource is Koi Wolf by John Henshaw. John is phenomenal at WordPress. He posts and publishes a lot of really, really great content around it. And so his blog, I think he started it a couple of years ago, and just everything he publishes is fantastic and very useful, and I'm constantly like I'm taking all his stuff and just literally cloning it and implementing ASAP. So he's been fantastic resource, and he has some good tutorials of utilizing the Genesis, their custom block editor. And they have a free version that unlocks some stuff for you, and then there's a premium version. But tip, if you have WordPress engine, you actually can get that for free. And so they have a hosting plan. I get the cheap one, and I don't even host any sites anymore. But yes, I do it just so I can have access to all of those plugins. And actually, they just acquired Delicious Brains, some of their plugins that they publish. So the exporting one that I use a lot for the database exports, and then I think Advanced Custom Fields, they just acquired as well. So there's a big tool set there. So I highly recommend, if you don't go the VIP route, WP Engine is fantastic. I also have utilized Cloudways. It allows me to just spin up servers on like AWS or Google Cloud or DigitalOcean, and I do a lot of like testing and playing around on there without having to actually maintain in the environment of WordPress. Depending on the team that you work with, the developers, if you're not ready for VIP, but they need something kind of above, like a traditional host, they choose to go like AWS or DigitalOcean, it's a lot too. It's affordable for the most part, but it requires some really tech savvy people to maintain the environment and keep it secure and locked down in the database as well. So I think it's worth the investment to actually just route through a company that knows what they're doing. And if I'm needing like a budget, then I go through Cloudways, which is really, really helpful. You could actually just choose, I think they have some like starting at like $10.